It's time to take a deep dive into the rabbit hole with FaZe the Fox, Galvanic 6, Rustic, Shredifire, Neuracool, and Mr. Marco. This is the Rabbit Hole Podcast.
OVR toolkit, advanced settings.
I'm gonna go ahead and just start recording. That way, all I gotta do is whenever we're all ready, we can just go.
Can we get bloopers?
Let me pull up the script.
You fuck off with that.
Why?
I have bad memories. Oh god!
And by bad memories, he means
Another point to Marco.
You deserve it, bitch.
Yes.
another point to Gryffindor.
Great. So
Oh my god, and you got that on recording as well.
I did get that on record. Yo. Oh
Rest
Why are you
man.
like these days?
Rest in peace, Nero.
Rest in spaghetti, never forget it on Nero and Shred.
Nero got high as fuck and also drunk, so he's gone.
Yeah, he's
and
gone.
then Shreddy has
He's
something
gone.
to do.
Shred's gotta
Shred
wake
has
up
to
in an
do
hour or so.
How dare you.
Military thing.
Oh boy, am I
I
hungry.
do like this avatar.
We just ate two of them. I mean, they're gone right now.
Oh man, I mean, no, seriously though, like sometimes when you look back at history, it's all nothing but screaming. Like I have been reading and reading and reading and reading. It's like so deep into stories, like for example, in Different Stars Above, which tells the entire story. Really good book of the of the Donner Party and their whole thing. Yeah, it's all nothing but screaming.
I want to call it dinner party. I really do.
A dinner Donner party?
It was the dinner party.
The dinner party. No longer the Donner Party. It's called the dinner party.
Oh, my fucking hip tracker's off a little bit. Okay.
But it's also one of the most harrowing tales in American history.
Oh.
Even though there's a lot of harrowing tales in American history, but this one kind of takes the cake and the meat.
And the meat. Meaty.
So
Man, I want me now.
So yes, welcome to the Rabbit Hole Podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Alright, go.
Yo, he fucking flew!
As he flies. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are two down. We are not. We're two down. We already ate them. Yeah, that's the story. Goodbye. But I hope no one's hungry. If so, Gal, get the barbecue sauce.
Got it.
This is the Donner Party, part 2.
My hand. Much like other people, they're about to lose their hands. When we last left the Donner Party, they just got stranded at what's known as the Truckee Lake while they were on their way to California. On the day of November 3rd, 1846, the advance team was met by a snowstorm while they were trying to cross the mountain of what came to be known as Donner Pass. They had camped out for the night, but when they awoke the next morning, they were all buried in snow.
Yeah, dude, like, imagine this. This one guy just fucking wakes up and starts screaming, "Ah!" Because he thinks everyone had left him because he was all alone.
I mean, yeah, it's been a hot the entire story. The last time you gotta think about barely a heart erect men.
What?
Oh, God.
But no, seriously though, these guys were like hardy pioneers. That after the trials that they went through so far, I'm not surprised they woke up screaming. Because,
Tasty.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, the team
Yum yum
decided
sauce.
that it was, oh god, that it was best to head back down. And the snowstorm that started a day before extended itself for another 8 days?
For a further 8 days. Yeah, you still had a little bit of a line left.
Wow, I'm blind as shit. Now, before we get into the details of cannibalism,
Nom 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 nom.
I'll nom you, bitch. It's important to note just how bad the winter of 1846 to 47 really was as far as the hardships that the Donner Party experienced. What really didn't help with this experience was the fact that they were caught in one of the coldest winters ever recorded in history. Not only in just the Sierra Nevadas, but for the entire northern hemisphere.
I mean, look at this. I mean, look at it like this. This is a winter that started the Great Irish Potato Famine, which killed over 1 million people.
Poggers. I wasn't supposed to say
was
that.
only potatoes?
That right?
I mean, all they had was potatoes, yes.
Poggies. Yay, genocide.
I mean, just
What?
wonder from the, just be from one of these guys' perspective. After all they went through, they just have to sit there and go, oh, really? Snowstorm. And then they just have to start laughing. Because after what they went through last
fair enough.
episode, because they know they're just fucked. Because they just
Yeah.
I mean, it's cold enough. It's freezing the meat. But as far as the snow, they endured about 10 blizzards in the 5 months that they were just on the outside of or in the middle of the Sierra Nevadas, walking or living in snowfall that went up to about 20 feet deep in some places.
because they didn't listen to anyone, right?
Wait, we need Nero because he's Canadian. He experiences this on a regular.
You're not wrong, but that was on the fate. That was the guy that was banished on the last episode for killing that guy.
Oh.
The guy that Rustic wanted to chop the legs off of.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, James Reid. He was in the middle of a Spanish-American War just so he could get some land in California because, remember, his family was still up in the fucking mountains and he made it across before any of the storms happened and was like, okay, I gotta do something to get a life started when my family arrives.
What parts of them?
Well, actually, I think all of Reid's family did survive.
Really? For some reason I thought, huh. Lucky son of a bitch. Back on Truckee Lake, the fight for shelter began. The Breens, which was the largest family, got somewhat lucky in the regard because they found an abandoned cabin. Others had to build their own cabins. The Fosters, Eddie and Pike family squeezed 16 people into their shelter that was built along the base of a rock.
Yeah. And things went wrong right from the get-go. For the Donners, when one of their wagons tipped over, George Donner was trying to repair it, he cut his hand, which got infected, and he had to suffer with a disgusting, useless, gangrenous limb for the entirety of the trip up there. So you best not use that for masturbation.
What the fuck?
You know, like how when you put your hand under your butt and you make it go numb, and then you play with...
No.
Never mind.
What the? Wait, hold up, Mako. You went too far into detail. Did you do that shit?
Hell no.
No, but he can feel all of it. He can feel all of this, you know, like... but he chose to go on. He also refused help from his family, like, for example, just getting firewood. His kids would offer help, but he wouldn't accept it because he was the man.
So he's a
myth,
fucking
the legend.
dumbass.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Masculinity is kind of the reason why the majority of the Donner Party that died were dudes. Now, it wasn't just George Donner and his family, but they also had George's brother, Jacob Donner, and his family. But what did they say about Jacob?
that he was kind of frail. He was a person like me, or like Shred.
Shred goes,
Oh shit! I just.
oh, sorry,
Oh yeah,
Shred.
like he was a reader, kind of when they. I mean, he was a reader, okay? He was one of them people that kind of looked at the beds and was like, is this what we're sleeping on? It's just a bunch of pine needles. It's the softest
so he
thing
was
for
a
miles.
Karen.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm gonna need at least a foam top for this.
Ah, a great Karen.
Wait, what's the male name of a Karen?
A Kyle?
Karen.
No, not a Kyle.
A Kyle's who
Like,
punches
likely
walls.
Like on weed.
Yeah.
A cat? Wait, a cat? I don't get.
What? Okay, what would you say the male equivalent of Karen would be for a name?
A Keenan.
Keenan?
Well, I
As far
don't
as
get
I know,
my-
like 5 Keenans, so that I find that I found that comedic.
Well, do they act like Karens?
No,
And
I don't think they're smart enough to act like. Anyway, they tried to build a cabin, but the
Yo,
snow fell so hard and so fast that they had to abandon the construction. They set up what they thought would be 3. Should I read it exact? Temporary. Temporary.
Shut up.
Temporary.
I was
canvas
typing fast and I didn't care. So okay, just leave me alone.
But they would stay in these tents the entire time that they were there.
I mean, could you just feel the code? I can just feel the frostbite.
My nuts have shrank.
what the fuck?
Welcome to cold.
I wrote this script in literally the last hour and a half. So leave me alone.
Oh, anytime you misspell
We're not gonna
anything,
leave you
I'm
alone.
going to bring it up. I hope you
Read
understand.
read it verbatim.
Do not read it verbatim.
Read every
Yeah, I'm
single
gonna-
word
I'm gonna-
exactly how you
I'm gonna
wrote
read
it.
it how it is.
Fuck all of you, okay? I am trying. I'm trying, okay?
I can do this.
Don't worry, Mako. I won't be able to see your mistakes.
Good.
I'll just hear them. Now, some people had it worse than the Donners. For example, the single men that were just hired.
We're just hired help for the party.
So, for example, the single men that were just hired help for the party. They would help fashion up the buildings, and they had to just sleep outside on the ground.
Yeah, they were like, thanks for building this for me. Now go home. Bye.
You go home where?
I mean,
Back in the
so
hole
I mean,
you
I mean,
got from.
I mean, FaZe. Why the fuck couldn't they stay in there with them?
Because they decided there wasn't enough room because of the children. I mean, you got to think, out of all the people that were on the trip, over half of them were children, which is terrifying. Cannibalistic
Here we
children.
can lose a few of them.
This was back before boomers, but they were still booming.
Oh yeah, like families had like 6 to 7 to 8 kids. But you know, most of them are, you know, they're pretty easy to kill with a stick and a rock.
That
Oh,
means
what?
you.
Why are you killing me?
We're killing you today.
Killing
What did I do?
Doesn't matter.
because you're a child.
Why have you
I need room. I need warmth. I need shelter.
You're tallest. You'll make a good blanket for them.
Your skin. Your skin will make good blanket.
Getting me, boy. Anyway.
FaZe is taller and bigger than me. His skin would make a better blanket.
Oh, I have a great blanket. Probably better alive, but I mean, who knows? Well, not only
No,
were
you would
living
not be alive.
people living in these terrible structures, but food was scarce from the very beginning.
Who would have guessed in the snow that there is no
Scarce?
food? Oh my
Scarce?
god.
Scarce.
Blur, whatever.
Blah.
Since most of the oxen and cattle were either run off, shot, or just straight up died, there was only a few left for the duration, or the
Shut up. Shut up.
duration
Shut
of
up.
the winter.
Shut up. Stop it. Stop that. Just read it.
I am. the duration of the winter.
As I'm reading over this, I see all my own mistakes. Okay, I was just typing fast. I didn't care. Just go.
We love you. We love you. We love you.
Don't worry, Marco.
Bah.
We love it. Don't worry.
Please, I'm trying to do something for the podcast. God damn it.
Hey, I'm building the fucking world. You can't say shit about me.
I know.
We're eating you.
Why are you eating?
And the livestock that they did have were also starving,
That's what it
which meant that you couldn't really get any nutritional value from them.
Much like you guys, because you're skinny. Yep. So even after they butchered everything, the meat they did have was gonna run out in just a few weeks.
You gonna share with that? Share with
sharing.
you? What?
I'm not fucking sharing. I'm not fucking sharing. Okay? Fuck all of you. Who joined?
Hello, father.
What?
Hello,
What,
my
what the
children.
Go to-
Wait, who is this?
Nerdy.
Constant vigilance.
Nuri, get out of here. We're recording.
Be gone! Stop!
Dot has been gone.
You thought that was your father. Hello, my children.
You're not my dad!
How to know Rusty's getting used to Shreddy talking in his stream voice.
Oh, that's funny.
Now, here's the thing. Should I keep that in the recording?
Yes, you
Yes.
should.
Yes.
At this point, yes.
Okay. Now,
Sorry, nerdy.
Love you, Nerdy.
now as the
I don't know who the fuck you are.
They're Barbie. But now as the camp started to dwindle, a man by the name Franklin Graves, hey Graves, anyway, took
PTSD.
charge and began leading escape missions. This one probably has the cigar. The first and second one failed to even get over the pass, and as the weeks went by, there was no reliefy from the
God
weather.
damn it. Will you fucking stop? I didn't realize how
These
bad.
are great comedy bits, bruh.
Oh. I'm never writing a script ever again. Fuck all you. I need Grammarly.
We love you. We love you, Headfat.
See, but they're great comedy spots.
No, they're not.
Hey,
Frankly.
One could
Mako.
say, hey, Mako, they're great comedy reliefy.
God damn it. I mean, Franklin Graves is an all-time badass in this story. He was like, I have had enough of this! So he gathered a team of people, like 16 or 17 of them, and made snowshoes just so they could start walking.
Damn, he is a badass.
Don't move it. That's wrong.
He's what we call a handy
So it's just gonna keep getting worse from here, isn't it, Face?
Yeah. Yep, basically.
They don't set up like a state park or something? I mean, no.
No.
It's just gonna keep getting worse from here until we reach the end. Like, I mean, before Graves and his team started up the mountain, they had already had like 2 deaths, and they had to like bury these guys in 6 foot deep in snow because they couldn't even reach the ground to bury them in the ground. The snow was just that deep.
It's the natural freezer. I mean, you mentioned like a state park or something like that. Could you imagine how boring literally sitting in 20 feet of snow is?
I mean,
As
yeah.
I squeak, that's
As
more
you
exciting
squeak.
than the snow. Well, now the team that would start to take on the mountain would be known to history as the Forlorn Hope. Not a good sign?
No, not a good sign at all. I mean, anything that screams the Forlorn Hope. Does that sound like a good team name?
Hell no.
Well, I
Hell
guess
no.
one could say that their
your name.
future
You're
looks
just
pretty
white.
grave.
Yo, bro, I wanna say one thing. One
Bum,
thing on it. Why is it only white people?
Why do you have yourself muted? Your mouth's not muted.
Oh, because it's gonna happen.
We know
No,
about
well,
history
I
at
have-
this
Your fucking
time.
voices down.
I have voices down.
Gal, at this time,
No,
I have
no,
a feeling that
My
would end very
headset
poorly for
has
the
a
others.
connection where it goes through the thing.
Oh, nah, you're fine.
Yeah, because it's a Rift S, and so it basically has a secondary
Yeah.
headset. It's a secondary headset to you know.
So
Yeah.
I read ahead a little bit.
I mean, Franklin Grace fashioned like 14 pairs of snowshoes out of ox bows and hides.
Yeah.
And on December 16th, a party of 17 men, women, and children set out on foot in the attack to cross the mountain pass. And children went on to make snowshoes for the rest of history.
Nike, be great. Anyway,
I mean, as evidence of how grim their choices were, 4 of the men were fathers. 3 of the women who were mothers gave their young children to other women, and they all packed lightly, taking what had become 6 days of rations, a rifle, a blanket each, a hatchet, and some pistols, hoping to make their way to Bear Valley.
that's not very light, but okay. Yeah, and to know how important Franklin's snowshoes were, 2 people turned back early, which brought the party down to 15 little beans left.
The snowshoes proved to be awkward but effective in the Adoria's climb. I mean, could you imagine just sinking down your foot and then bringing it back up, steeping down the necks, and doing this on put that. I mean, some of you guys might be thinking, "Oh, I've walked in snow before. Oh, I could do this." Okay, imagine it's 20 foot of snow, and now put that on a mountain in the middle of one of the coldest winters.
I can't walk through 1 feet of snow. I sink down through the floor to begin with, let alone with snow.
I mean,
how big would my snowshoes need to be?
Exactly. I mean, and these guys, and put it to where you haven't had a decent meal in months. So these guys were neither well nourished nor accustomed to camping in the cold. And by the 3rd day, they were going snowblind.
I have no fucking clue what that is.
Well, snow blindness happens when UV light bounces off the snow and damages your retina.
Okay.
I'm calling them retina now.
Shut
not
up.
retina. Retina.
Shut up.
You spelled it right. I'm still just calling it retina.
Fuck you.
Because as soon as you look at the snow, it's just like... But anyway.
mean, could you imagine they were just walking along, and then all of a sudden, they're going fucking blind.
Oh, good.
Alright.
One could say they're blinded by the light. Anyway, Charles Stanton...
Sorry.
Wow, I can't
Shut
read
up before
sometimes.
we get DMCA'd.
Charles Stanton was one of the guys that went over 3 times
sound like
and brought back the Milwaukee guys, Louis, or I'm
Louis and
assuming it's Louise.
Salvador. It's Louis and Salvador. That's how they spelled their name. I got that directly out of the book. Fuck you. It's Louis and Salvador.
I was just seeing if that's how they pronounced it, because most of them were from England. Okay,
These
but anyway,
these are
Louis and
Miwok
Salvador.
guys. These are Indians.
Oh, you're right.
Wait, did you
Why
say
is there
these
one
were
named
Native
Louis
Americans?
then? Anyway, Louis and Salvador, however, Stanton had one thing that was against him. He was only 5'5".
So he was so short.
Walk head ass.
He was so short
Rusty.
that he was closer to the ground, which made him more easily to get snow blindness.
Yo, why can I not see? Oh, right, the snow.
Yep, they kept on walking,
Oh,
and
right.
Charles
I'm
was
short as fuck.
starting to straggle behind, catching up with the group when they set up for camp. However, one day, they all got up to start walking again. Charles just sat down with his pipe and said, "I'll catch up later."
That was the last time Charles would be seen alive. His body was found 6 months later in a hollow stump that he tried to use for shelter. He was so short that he could fit into a hollow stump.
That's yikers. The group
No,
became...
wait, I forget everybody's heights. I know you're 6'2".
I'm 5'9".
Mako,
This is triggering me because I'm
Okay.
short.
You're not
I'm 5'11".
your average height.
You're average.
Everyone calls themselves short, but they're literally the normal height.
I mean, I have an average penis size, but no.
No, you
You didn't need
don't.
to know that.
We all.
I mean,
didn't
I
need
would
to know
talk
that.
about this, but we would need a long time to talk about. Anyway,
No. No. No.
Oh God.
No. No. No.
But the group became lost and confused. After 2 more days without food, an Irishman known as Patrick Dolan had a suggestion.
I have a wee bit of an idea.
They would draw lots to see who would die in order to save the others. What was somewhat a cruel fate, Dolan picked the shortest straw.
Isn't this a bit hysterical? It's like rain on your wedding day.
But they all soon realized that none of them had it in them for pure murder. Yet.
Fuck
Oh,
it,
boy.
I'll do it myself. Bang.
Rusty's over here like, you're innocent? I'm still chopping your legs off, bitch.
Bruh.
I don't care. If I need to kill somebody to live, I would fucking do it.
Oh. All right. So you would have been out there just constantly killing people, even though you look like a walking chicken leg.
Yeah.
What?
Now I'm looking at this avatar and I'm just going, you're a chicken leg.
You're now a chicken leg.
But the tragedy just kept
I
coming.
fucking hate you. I hate you. Just keep reading.
I
Just
love
keep
you.
fucking reading.
The tragedy just kept coming when they were out there trying to chop down some wood for the fire. The head of the axe flew off and would never be seen again.
And yeah, so now they don't have an axe.
They just have a fucking stick now.
He just has a stick.
Why can I imagine they're still out trying to smack the tree like chop, chop?
I mean, see, if Stan would have stayed alive,
What
like,
kind of motion are you doing?
Emotion that he's very accustomed to.
Oh God.
I mean, if Stan would have stayed alive for a couple more days, he would have been there to make the decision that had probably costed them from screwing up all their lives again.
Probably. And as they came upon the end of the 6-mile valley, they came upon a ridge. If they would have climbed it, they would have found a road that would have relatively easily brought them down the mountain to their destination in California.
Yeah, if they would have done that, their journey would have taken them 9 days at most, just a few more than what they estimated, and they would have gotten help to the others, and that's people that stranded, a whole lot easier before all the disaster. But you know what they did?
They didn't do that now.
Well, they took the wrong path, which made the journey, last a full month. And I'm sorry. If it's there,
Just read it!
I gotta do it. I am. Last a full month and a half. From 9 days to a full month and a half. Stop taking up skirts of your... Anyway, keep going.
So at this
I
point,
forgot that I had the camera on.
So at this point, they didn't need to draw lots or kill anyone. William Eddy was one of the people that pointed out someone's just going to die sooner or later.
And the odds were for sooner. A young Mexican...
It says
Wow,
Mexican.
my brain shut off. A young Mexican herdsman. I keep calling it herdsman. What the heck?
He's a
I'm not
hard
gal.
man. He's a hard man.
A young Mexican
No, not gal.
herdsman
He's a hard man.
Fuck
named
you.
Antonio died while they were just sitting in camp. No one knew he was dead until his hand went into the fire and he made no attempt of burning it out.
I didn't even realize there was a missing G. Fuck off. But after he died, the tragedy just kept coming. Graves suggested that they get into a shelter for the night. So they fashioned a tent using themselves as posts and the blankets that they had as a roof. Their only source of heat? Each other.
Fucking penguins.
Anyway, the next person to die was someone that you would have last expected to go. The badass Franklin Graves. One could say he had a grave fate. As he laid there dying, he told his kids that they should eat him. lest they suffer the same fate as him.
I mean, Franklin Graves, he was the most hardiest man on that entire trip. He was the guy's
Very
like,
hard, yeah.
I'm gonna. He was just gonna be. He was one of those guys who's like, I'm going to get us out of here. I'm going to help these guys keep moving, and he succumbed to the cold because they all thought that they were dying of no food, but it was mostly hypothermia.
Yep. As the blizzard progressed, Patrick Dolan began to rant deliriously. I don't even know how to spell that word. Stripped off his clothes and ran into the woods. What the fuck?
I mean,
Shortly afterwards and died a few hours later.
I mean, he's just out there, butt naked, dancing a jig, and he's just losing his fucking mind.
Okay, Mako, is it bad that I can imagine two people here doing it? Gal and maybe you.
No, I am not that type of person who just go out there and just go ass stupid crazy. I'm just chill. This guy, on the other hand, yeah, I probably will.
I join you.
Yeah, you would. Out of all people.
Just yeet myself into the forest.
Fucking Mr. Chin head.
If you saw Mako do it, I feel like Paige would be like, fuck it. Why not?
Probably. A 13-year-old boy named, don't know if you meant to say Emmanuel or is it Lemuel?
His name is Lemuel.
What an ass.
Lemuel Murphy.
Get it? Anyway.
Shut up.
Lemuel Murphy was out trying to find food.
Find wood. Find wood.
Find wood. And managed to capture a mouse. Then he just popped it in his mouth and ate it alive.
Huggers.
Made his palate squeaky clean. But you see, the hunger clock had reset now that Lemuel had ate, so he went insane, biting at the other's arms, screaming one thing.
Give me my bones! Give me my bones! Like he was literally just grabbing their arms and go, give me my bone! Give me my bone!
Well, as fucking
Wow.
dogs. What the fuck?
He later died that night, and they rolled him out into the snow. There were now 3 bodies out around the tent, and the hunger had become too much to bear. So that's when the cannibalism started. The
Oh, boy.
juicy part of the story.
Oh boy, here we go.
Disclaimer, if you have food, probably don't eat now.
I would eat more.
Bruh. Bad.
Gal, grab the sauce.
Negative, Chief. Go.
They probably need campfire sauce because it's both hot and anyway. Not long after, possibly because Murphy was near death, some of the group began to eat flesh from Dolan's body. Dolan's not little kid.
No, Dolan was the Irishman.
Oh yeah. I wonder if he tasted the potatoes. Eddie and Salvador and Louis refused to eat.
Oh, God.
The next morning, he tasted of shamrock and Irish cream.
You know the fucking cake meme?
Everything.
Potato.
It's all taters.
It's all because potatoes.
The next morning, the group stripped the muscle and organs from the bodies of Antonio, Dolan, Graves, and Murphy. They dried them to store for the days ahead, taking care to ensure nobody would have to eat his or her relative.
After 3 days of rest, they set off again, searching
I
for
like
the
how
trail.
that's what they're worried about. Anyway.
You don't have to eat daddy, but you can eat your friend. Don't worry about it.
Oh, no.
Eddie eventually succumbed to his hunger and ate the human flesh. But then was soon, but that was soon gone. Then began taking apart their snowshoes to eat the oxhide webbing, and discussed killing Louis and Salvador for food. But before Eddie warned the 2 men, and they quietly left. So they survived?
No.
Fuck. And
Jay Fosdick died during the night, leaving only 7 members of the party. Eddie and Mary Graves left to hunt. But when they returned with deer meat, Fosdick's body had already been cut apart for food. After several more days, 25 of them, since
No,
they are
20
25
yeah,
since
25
they
days.
had left
Yeah.
Truckee Lake, they came across Salvador and Lewis, who had not eaten for about 9 days and were close to death.
William Foster then shot the pair, believing their flesh was the rest of the group's last hope of avoiding imminent death from starvation. Not more than a few days later, the group stumbled into a Native American settlement, looking so deteriorated that the camp's inhabitants initially fled. Like, kids were screaming because these guys looked like fucking walking zombies into this fucking place. And the Native Americans gave them what they had to eat.
What was the goddamn thing?
The one from Until Dawn. I forgot what they're called.
What were they called?
Wendigo?
Yes,
Wendigos.
that.
Yeah, actually, that's actually
That's where the stories came from.
Yeah, that's exactly what you just said last episode, right?
Yeah. Windigos are basically, if you were to break down into actual old history, Windigos were derived from Native American stories of typically white men going up into the mountains, and they would get lost. It would typically be miners and or hikers, and they would get lost inside the mountains and wind up committing cannibalism. And after committing cannibalism, the soul of whoever they ate actually possesses them, and their bodies transform into what is the Wendigo. Long arms, long legs, disfigured face, super skinny, and they're cursed to eternal hunger. So they basically become these ravaged beasts.
Why do I feel like there are still Windigos out there in different mountains?
I mean, it's possible, but we have to save our whole Wendigo story for another time.
Like when we're talking about slender murder. Anyway, they were in this Native American tribe with the meat of the 2 Muhat guys still in their sacks.
I mean, could you imagine that? They're literally just laying in this camp. And
Yep, guys, your friends are sure tasty.
Yeah, well,
I mean, what?
Bro.
See, James Reid made it out of the Sierra Nevada to the Rancho Johnson in late October. He was safe and recovering at Sutter's Fort, but each day he became more concerned for the fate of his family and friends. He pleaded with Colonel John C. Fremont to gather a team of men to cross the pass and help the company. In return, Reid promised to join Fremont's forces and fight in the Mexican-American War. And he was joined by McChicken.
McChicken. Perfect.
That's who you called him last time, McCutcheon, who had been unable to return with Stanton, as well as some members of the Harlan/Young Party. The Harlan and Young wagon train had arrived at Sutter's Fort on October 8th, and the last to make it over the Sierra Nevadas that season. The party of roughly 30 horses and a dozen men carried food, supplies, and expected to find the Donner Party on the western side of the mountain, along the Bear River below the steep approach to the Immigrant Gap. Immigrant. Let me just bring out my southern. Below the Immigrant Gap. What? Below the gap. Yes, perhaps starving but alive. When they arrived in the river valley, they found only a pioneer couple, migrants who had been separated from their company, who were near starvation. 2 guys deserted Reid and McCutcheon with some of their horses, but they pressed on further up the valley to the Yuba Bottoms. Walking the last mile on foot, Reid and McCutcheon stood looking up Immigrant Gap, only 12 miles, 19 kilometers, from the top, blocked by snow, possibly on the same day that the Breens attempt to lead one last effort to crest the pass from the east. Despondent.
Yeah.
Despondent, they turned back to Sutter's Fort.
So, hear me out. Guy makes dumb decision, gets a lot of people killed. He did.
Mm-hmm.
He kills a dude after he, gets beat up on and his wife gets punched. But then gets banished from this group instead of being murdered. So he knows that they might murder him when he goes back. He knows they're delirious. He knows he's murdered a lot of people on accident. And now he has to join a war just to lead a search party. So he goes into the war, gets everyone, goes into a freaking search party back into the mountains that he almost got killed in. I'm sorry, the man's a Chad.
Reid's a Chad, all right? He's insane.
Little cuckoo, but he's a Chad.
Little cuckoo. So you want to start us off with first relief?
Yes, the first relief. Much of the military in California were engaged in the Mexican-American War. And with them, the able-bodied men, for example, Colonel Fremont.
Colonel Fremont.
I always call him Colonel for some reason. Colonel Fremont personnel were occupied at the precise time in capturing Santa Barbara. Throughout the region, roads were blocked, communications compromised, and supplies unavailable. Only 3 men responded to the call for volunteers to rescue the Donner Party. Reid was laid over in San Jose until February, or February, if you want to be English, because of regional uprisings and general confusion. He spent that time speaking with other pioneers and acquaintances. Citation needed.
The people of San Jose responded by creating a petition to appeal the U.S. Navy to assist the people at Truckee Lake. 2 local newspapers reported that members of the Snowshoe Party had resorted to cannibalism, which helped to foster sympathy for those who were still trapped. Residents of the Yerba Buena, many of them recent migrants, raised $1,300, that's $35,700 in today's money, and organized relief efforts to build 2 camps to supply a rescue party for the refugees.
A rescue party, including William Eddy, started on February 4th from the Sacramento Valley. Rain in the swollen river forced several delays. Eddy stationed himself at Bear Valley. Where's my hand going? At Bear Valley. Where did I go? My brain's going bye-bye now. Okay. While the others made steady progress through the snow and storms to cross the pass to Truckee Lake, caching their food at stations along the way so they did not have to carry it all. It's just so much food. 3 of the rescue party turned back, but 7 forged on.
On February 18th, the 7-men rescued party scaled Fremont Pass, now Donner Pass, as they neared where Eddy had told them the cabins would be. They began to shout, and Miss Murphy appeared from a hole in the snow and started to ask, "Are you men from California? Or did you come from heaven?"
What a fucking cheesy thing to say.
Yes, because California is heaven. I mean,
No, it fucking ain't. It's hell here.
You'll think it's heaven with the amount of drugs they're passing.
We get 2 seasons. The summer and lesser summer.
I like summer.
the relief party doled out food in small portions, concerned that it might kill them if they emaciated migrants overate. which that actually has happened to one of the Donners.
Yep.
All the cabins were buried in snow. Solid oxide roofs had begun to rot, and the smell was overpowering. 13 people at the camps were dead, and their bodies were loosely buried in the snow and in the cabin roofs. Some of the migrants seemed emotionally unstable. 3 of the rescue party trickled to the Donners, then brought back the 4 gaunt children and 3 adults. Leanna Donner had particularly difficulty walking up the steep incline from Alder Creek to Truckee Lake. Later writing, "Such pain and misery I endured that day is beyond deception." George Donner's arm... Description, my bad. George Donner's arm was so gangrenous, he could not move. 23 people...
What a word, dude.
I know. 20...
What the fuck does it even mean?
23 people were chosen to go with the rescue party, leaving 21 in the cabins at Truckee Lake and 12 at Alder Creek.
What the fuck? Why are you
Pain
sucking
back up.
it?
Because I'm just imagining all this delicious meat. The rescuers
God.
concealed the fate of the snowshoe party, informing the rescued migrants only that they did not return because they were frostbitten. Patty and Tommy Reid were soon too weak to cross the snowdrifts, and no one was strong enough to carry them. Margaret Reid faced the agonizing predicament of accompanying her 2 older children to Bear Valley and watching her 2 frailest be taken back to Truckee Lake without a parent. She made rescuer Aquila, I'm assuming it's actually Akia, but Aquila Glover swear on his honor as a Mason. What kind of honors? Okay. That he would.
You're
I
having
swear
trouble?
on my stone grafting that he would return for her children. Patty Reid told her, "Well, mother, if you never see me again, do the best you can." Well, okay. Upon their return to the lake, the Breens. I saw fatly. I was like, what? The Breens flatly refused them entry to their
Fuck you,
cabin,
gal.
but after Glover left more food, the children were grudgingly admitted. The rescue party was dismayed to find that their first cache station had been broken into by animals. That's just called inconvenient timing.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving them without food for 4 days. After struggling on the walk over the pass, John Denton slipped into a coma and dead. Ada Cheeseburg, Ada Kessberg, died soon afterwards. Her mother was inconsolable, refusing to let the child's body go. After several days more travel through difficult country, the rescuers grew very concerned that the children would not survive. Some of them ate the buckskin fringe from one of the rescuers' pants. Why can I just imagine a bunch of kids just going nom nom and the shoelaces of another? To the relief party's surprise, on their way down from the mountains, they met the next rescue party, which included James Reid, the Chad. Upon hearing his voice, Margaret sank into the snow, overwhelmed.
They ran into each other's arms, and it was like, oh my god, where the fuck have you been? Going back to the Ada Kesselberg, somebody also noted that the child's spirit went to heaven, her body to the wolves. All right, children.
We're brothers. Anyway.
Don't make me turn this carriage back around. I'll give you back to the people who's eating each other.
Fuck you, bitch.
After these rescued migrants made it safely into Bear Valley, William Hook, Jacob Donner's stepson, broke into food stores and fatally gorged himself. See, there's the thing where we said, like, the others continued to Sutter's Fort, where Virginia Reid wrote, "I really thought I had stepped over into paradise." She was amused to note one of the young men asked her to marry him, although she was only 12 years old and recovering from starvation. But she turned him down.
Around the time the first relief party was being organized, according to some historical reminiscences, why do they try and use big words? We're smart.
And
We're
manuscripts.
Wikipedia. Manuscripts. Nearby California settler and patriarch George C. Yount or Yount.
I want to call him Yount.
Yount, I love it. George C. Yount had a repeated dream in which he saw a struggling group of pioneers in deep snow and other striking details of their appearance and difficulties. It seems likely that Yount had heard of the plight of the Donner Party, widely publicized by James Reid, the Chad, in San Francisco that winter. There are various accounts of Yount's dream in Richard Henry Donner Jr.'s. Wow, that's a name.
There it is.
1869, 24 years later. Donner writes that Yount's dream was responsible for at least part of the rescue of the Donner Party. Donner refers to it as Yount's celebrated dream, thrice repeated. Nevertheless, Rev. Horace Bushnell's. What are these names? Claimed
Reverend.
firsthand account from George Yount himself around 1850. I want to keep saying it like that. Yount. 1857 places the dream and rescue in the wrong year and the wrong place from the Donner Party. The April 1923 California Historical Society's biography of George Yount offers the recollections of Eliza Donner, age 3 at the time, and Patty Reid, then age 8, in support of the claim that Yount had a miraculous dream. As stated in the Historical Society article, the manuscript of Rev. Orange Clark, drafted between 1851 to 1855 based on conversations with Mr. Yount, referred to as the Clark MS, merely alludes to the dream. It is well documented that Yount made preparations for James Reid at his prior to Reid's arrival, and that he provided substantial support to the Second Relief Party, but later claims that Yount's dream was instrumental in providing relief appear apocryphal. That was too much stupid information.
That was part. I don't think that information should have even been there. I don't know about why should we know about this guy's dream.
Today we're going to talk about the relief of the Donner Party and the dream of a very hysterical man.
Named
And every
Yount.
single thing through history.
You've never done anything, okay? And Yount's not even a part of this. I'm whatever.
Why do you give him a voice?
On March
By all means.
On March 1st, the Second Relief Party arrived at Truckee Lake. Shit. On March 1st, the Second Relief Party of
Bum, bum, bum.
On March 1st, the Second Relief Party arrived at Truckee Lake. These rescuers included veteran mountain men, most notably John Turner, who accompanied the return of Reid and McChicken. Reid was reunited with his daughter Patty and his weakened son Tommy. An inspection of the Breen cabin found its occupants relatively well, but the Murphy cabin, according to author George Stewart, passed the limits of description and almost of imagination. Leviah Murphy was nearly blind. The children were listless and had not been cleaned in days. Louis Kesselberg had moved into the cabin and could barely move due to an injured leg. You know what he did to his leg? He stepped on a sharp branch.
It doesn't take much.
Your fucking leg. You step on like a fucking sharp ass stick.
I stepped on.
You step on a thumbtack, shit, we gotta cut it off. No one at Truckee Lake died during the
Interim.
Wow. I know. I don't know what's going on during the interim. Wow.
You have my
interim,
curse.
between the departure of the first and the arrival of the second relief party, Patrick Breen, which I kept reading Breed while you were going through that because of your joke. Patrick Breen documented a disturbing visit in the last week of February from Miss Murphy, who said her family was considering eating Milt Elliott.
Not me.
Reid and McChicken found Elliot's mutilated body. The Alder Creek camp fared no better. The first two members of the relief party to reach it saw Trudeau carrying a human leg. When they made their presence known, he threw it into a hole in the snow that contained the mostly dismembered body of Jacob Donner. They're just eating everybody. Inside the tent, Elizabeth Donner refused to eat, although her children were being nourished by their father's organs. Tasty. I guess you could say they stomached it. Anyway, the rescuers discovered 3 other bodies had already been consumed in the other tent. Tamsin Donner was well, but George was very ill because the infection had reached his shoulder.
The second relief evacuated 17 migrants from Truckee Lake, only 3 of whom were adults. Both the Breen and the Graves families prepared to go. Only 5 people remained at Truckee Lake: Kesselberg, Miss Murphy, and her son Simon, and the young Eddie and foster children. Tamsin Donner elected to stay with her ailing husband. After Reid informed her that the third relief party would arrive soon, Miss Donner kept her daughter Eliza, George, and Francis with her. The walk back to Barrow Valley was very slow. At one point, Reid sent 2 men ahead to retrieve the first cache of food, expecting the third relief. A small party led by Asylum E. Woodworth to come at any moment. A violent blizzard arose after they scaled the pass. 5-year-old Isaiah Donner froze to death, and Reid nearly died. Reid nearly died. Mary Donner's feet were badly burned because they were so frostbitten that she didn't realize that she was stepping into a fire.
Sleeping with them
in a fire. Oh my God!
Yeah, I know.
I thought it said stepping.
Worse.
When the storm passed, the Breens and the Graves family were too apathetic.
I read pathetic.
Apathetic. And exhausted to get up and move. Not having eaten for days, the relief party had no choice but to leave without them. The sites where the Breens and Graves had been left became known as Starved Camp. Margaret Breen reportedly took the initiative to try to keep the members of the camp alive after the others departed down the mountain soon after. Soon, however, Elizabeth Graves and her son Franklin perished before the next rescue party could reach them, and the party resorted to eating flesh from the dead bodies in order to survive.
Wasn't George like 5?
Yes. I mean, the Graves family really got, you know.
There's one family that's literally just eating everybody. They
Yeah.
had 3 bodies outside their tent. They're now eating 2 more people. They're just like, you know what? You look tasty. Today's your day.
But it's not even the Graves family. The Graves family got the worst of them all. Yes, it's called the Donner Party, and yes, most of the Donners, most of the Donner's children did survive, but like a lot of the Graves family, like 90% of the Graves family, all died. It should have been called the Graves Party, because Franklin is the whole reason why the Forlorn Hope started. And even though that did lead to more things, but
Also, on the right, you can see all the members that were rescued by the reliefs, and both the people that died were 5.
Oh.
Wow. And then
Rustic, don't fall asleep. Get the fuck up.
Good morning,
Fall
kid.
asleep.
It's time for you to be eaten. Anyway, 3 members of the relief party stayed to help those remaining at the camps. Charles Stone at Truckee Lake, Charles Caddy, and Nicholas Clark at Alder Creek. I said Cleek. While Clark was out hunting, Stone traveled to Alder Creek and made plans with Caddy to return to California. According to Stewart, Tams and Donna arranged for them to take their daughters Eliza, Georgia, and Frances with them, perhaps for $500 cash. Stone and Caddy took the 3 gifts to Truckee Lake,
Girls.
but left them. Huh?
You said 3 gifts. It took the 3 girls.
Girls to Truckee Lake, but left them at the cabin with Cheeseburg. I'm calling him Cheeseburg now.
We got cheeseburger and Michigan.
and Levin Murphy
Why
when
am I
they
hungry
started
now?
for Bear Valley. Well, it's because we're talking about delicious food. I mean, people. Caddy recalled later that after 2 days on the
Cheeseburger,
trail,
I was like,
they
damn,
noted and
cheeseburgers
passed
sound
starved
good.
camp, but they did not stop to help in any way. They overtook Reid and the others within days. Several days later at the Alder Creek camp, Clark and Trudeau, I think it's Trudeau, because I think anyway, agreed to leave for California together. When they reached Truckee Lake and discovered the Donner girls still there, they returned to Alder Creek to inform Tams and Donner.
William Foster and William Eddy, survivors of the snowshoe party, started from Bear Valley to intercept Reid, taking with them a man named John Stark. After a day, they met Reid helping his children struggle on toward Bear Valley, all frostbitten and bleeding but alive. Desperate to rescue their own children, Foster and Eddy persuaded the 4 men with pleading and money to go to Truckee Lake with them. During their journey, they found the 11 survivors at Starved Camp, huddled around a fire and that had sunk into a pit because of the snow.
Wake up, you chingas.
I'm
falling asleep.
listening, motherfucker.
Oh, I was
Also,
poking your face for like 30 minutes. Okay.
Wake up.
I don't even know where the fuck I am, because I look over at my camera and I just see all kinds of shit happening in this corner.
We're trying to wake up Rusty.
Trying to wake up Rusty.
I'm good.
He's like,
don't worry.
I'm sleepy. Fuck you.
But 2 of the rescuers, hoping to save some of the survivors, each took a child and headed back to Bear Valley. John Stark refused to leave the others. He picked up 2 children and all the provisions and assisted the remaining Breens and Graves to safety, sometimes advancing the children down the trail piecemeal, putting them down, and then going back to carry the other dilapidated children.
I thought you were gonna say piece by piece.
Could you? I mean,
it's your legs turn.
listen, these kids have also been eating their own father and that. Could you imagine children, as they already are, terrifying? I'm just gonna kick them in the head, as they have the taste for human flesh.
Oh my god.
Bro.
Gal, I think you're hungry because we're explaining all of these juicy details.
No.
But now we come up to the
I heard
last relief.
I heard somebody say cheeseburger. I was gonna say cheeseburger. I was like, oh, I don't want cheeseburger.
What the fuck?
Okay, third
Hungry.
relief. Foster and Eddy finally arrived at Truckee Lake on March 14th, where they found their children deed. Cheeseburger told Eddy that he had eaten the remains of Eddie's son.
Oh my god.
Yeah, a
The
little.
name cheeseburger makes it even worse. Cheeseburger ate Eddie's son,
I mean,
and then told Eddie he ate his son.
So get
I mean,
that shit,
listen.
cheeseburger eats you.
apparently some of the kids were fine, but like Kesselberg took the little 1-year-old into his cabin, and then the next morning the child was dead. So, then Kesselberg ate it.
On today's news, a child has been murdered by the own father of itself.
No, it wasn't the
Human
father.
veal? Anyway, The remains of Eddie's son. Eddie swore to murder Cheeseburg if they ever met
Kesselberg.
in California. I'm calling him Cheeseburg. Kesselberg if they ever met in California. George Donner and one of Jacob Donner's, the man that they ate, children were still alive at Alder Creek. Tamsin Donner had just arrived at the Murphy cabin to see to her daughters. She could have walked out alone, but chose to return to her husband, even though she was informed that no other relief party was likely to be coming soon. Foster and Eddie and the rest of the third relief left with the Donner girls. Young Simon Murphy, Tredo, and Clark. Levina Murphy was too weak to leave, and Cheeseburg refused.
2 more relief parties were mustered to evacuate any adults who might still be alive. Both turned back before getting into Bear Valley, and no further attempts were made. On April 10th, almost a month since the third relief had left Truckee Lake, the Alcade near Sutter's Fort organized a salvage party to recover what they could of the Donner's belongings. These would be sold and with part of the proceeds used to support the orphan Donner children. The salvage party found the Alder Creek tents empty except for the body of George Donner, who had died only days earlier. His head was split open, and the innards of his head was boiling in a kettle nearby. This was the work of Cheeseburg.
Cheeseburger! Damn you, Cheeseburger!
It was Kesselberg.
Damn you, Cheeseburger!
Kesselberg said he put a blanket around her and Tamsin Donner had arrived at his cabin on her way over the pass, soaked and visibly wet. Kesselberg said he put a blanket around her and told her to start out in the morning, but she died during the night.
Well, you didn't cover her up well.
Why does Kisselberg sound like the mix between a quesadilla and a cheeseburger?
You're not wrong, actually.
Kesselberg's just one evil son of a bitch. Okay.
Yeah, he's stealing money, stayed behind to eat people, ate a 1-year-old, ate their father.
Had no repercussions after he made it through, though.
So
Well, he did it for survival, right?
Mm-hmm. Because he did it for survival. And
the cheeseburger of survival.
And you know what? It's rumored that he did go to California and he started a restaurant in California.
I mean, he had to learn how to cook.
I hope that restaurant's shut down.
But more or less, out of the 87 people who entered the Wastash Mountains, 48 members survived. Only the Reid and the Bream families remained intact. The children of Jacob Donner, George Donner, and Franklin Graves were orphaned. William Eddy was alone. Most of the Murphy family had died. Only 3 mules reached California. The remaining animals perished. Most of the Donner Party members' possessions were discarded. A few of the widowed women remarried within months. Brides were scarce in California. The Reids settled in San Jose, and 2 of the Donner children lived with them. Reid fared well to California. Fared well in the California gold rush and became prosperous.
I'm telling you, he's a Chad.
He's crazy. Virginia wrote on an executive letter to her cousin in Illinois about her troubles in getting to California.
I read executive. I was like, what?
With editorial oversight from her father. Journalist Edwin Bryant carried it back in June of 1847, and it was printed in the entirety in the Illinois Journal on December 16th of 1847, with some editorial alterations. And basically, the rest is history. Like, there is more or less... there was a few other stories of... not just the cannibalism part, but, like, there was a few other stories of where at one time they hunted a fucking grizzly bear at Truckee Lake. Like, I've been reading on and off. Like I said, when we started to begin this, I had a little bit of a script wrote out, and this was all the stuff that I could gather from so far of my reading of this book in Different Stars Above. And there's a lot more great stories. So if you like a good read, I definitely do say to go get some in Different Stars Above. But I believe that's gonna carry our tale to the end. That's it.
One more thing.
Oh, the Donner
just
Party.
because this part is freaking badass.
Okay, what you got?
Terrifying. The Graves children lived varied lives. Mary Graves married early, but her first husband was murdered. She cooked his killer's food while he was in prison to ensure the condemned man could not starve before he was hung.
Yes.
Pog.
One of the Mary's grandchildren noted that she was very serious. Graves once said, "I wish I could cry, but I cannot. If I could forget the tragedy, perhaps I would know how to cry again."
She couldn't cry.
How terrifying. She's just straight-faced force-feeding this killer food so that she can watch him be hung. It's like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. It's
chew on bitch. Eat
I
it.
feel like
Chew
okay.
it.
I feel like I
Chew
do
it.
something similar.
I think one of the Donner's children's, one of their wives or one of their husbands, was also hanged because he was a mule thief.
Oh, he's nasty.
So the tragedy just kept following these guys even
Wait.
after the whole party.
So, he's a mule thief. So, does that mean he's a jackass? Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
I do
think
believe
we're
that's going to
calling
be
it.
where we call it today, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you guys for listening in on this harrowing tale of meatiness.
Very juicy.
Honestly, the script actually helped out for there at the beginning. I mean, other than reading it straight off of Wikipedia, I really like how I'm going to have to start doing that for episodes when I can.
Yeah, just do it for story episodes.
For story episodes,
Okay.
exactly. It helps tell the story a whole lot better, putting it into smaller terms, even though I can't fucking spell worth a damn when I'm typing fast.
Yeah.
Are you already saying see ya?
If I see spelling mistakes, Mako, I'm going to say them because they're
Read them
freaking
verbatim.
hilarious.
But,
You're like reading this really serious tale, and then all of a sudden it's like tragedy.
tragedy.
The
But, ladies and beans, thank you guys so much for listening in and watching in here today. I hope you guys did enjoy our little story of the Donner Party. And next week we're going to be cleansing our palates with some stories that Gal's been wanting to do here as of late. But until we see each other next time, ladies and gents, remember to always hail yourselves.
See you next time.
Good night.
Bye, cutie.
Sleep well, and sweet dreams, my friends. And
What's
until
the
next
score
time.
for the scares? Like, is it like
4
eight?
to 4 to 8. 4 to 8.
Yeah, 4 to 8.
But either way, oh yeah, remember to go follow our shit all in the thing below. Twitch.tv, Rustic, Twitch.tv,
Yeah, don't worry,
Faze,
I have
Twitch.tv,
shit content,
Gal,
I don't even
Twitch.tv,
stream.
me, Shreddy, and Miro, even though they're not even here, but you can go do all that.
This
But,
one has a TikTok.
yeah, I have a TikTok. Trying to do something on that.
The dark humor is funny.
You can
I find it
you can
funny.
turn that fucking thing into a TikTok.
What?
Turn what thing into a TikTok?
You
Tragedy?
scaring me.
Oh my god, yeah.
Your
Tragedy!
fucking rabbit hole beat behind the scenes. Fucking Mako scares Rusty.
We just...
Gal yeeted before we could do anything else.
But, bye-bye!
Hashtag how to end a podcast. Just
Bye.
yeets.
Woo.